Today I'm going to do the beginning of the year book tag, and the first question is, how many books do you plan on reading in 2026? And my goal is 85. I feel like that is perfect for me. The average is out to about 8 books a month, give or take. With the amount of books I read, and sometimes I read like longer books, shorter books, I feel like this is a good metric for me, so I'm going to stick with 85. A book that I'm likely to reread, and I do plan on rereading because the next book comes out this year, is Nightshade by Autumn Woods. I absolutely love this book. I read this in June of last year, and it was just amazing. It's dark academia set in Scotland, and you have a girl named Ophelia that is going to Sarosong University to essentially find out what happened to her parents. They got into a plane crash where they tragically passed away, and she feels like the son of the founder of this company is involved, and so she's essentially trying to kind of get close to him to figure out what he knows about this incident. And she really comes to find out that he's not who she thought he would be. She thought he would be like spoiled and, you know, entitled, and it turns out that he's not. His name is Alex Corvo Green, and honestly, I absolutely love this book. I thought that the banter in it was amazing. I thought that the academic setting was immaculate. I absolutely loved it. I just like Autumn Woods did such a good job of like depicting grief and depicting, you know, the trauma that both of these characters went through, and just, you know, showcasing that they really didn't know each other, and the prejudices that they had going into this relationship were wrong. And I really love the character development of both of them. The way that this book ended, honestly, I saw it coming, because if you have read it, you see they're like breadcrumbs of what's going to happen. But all I have to say is I'm so excited for the next book to come out, so I definitely am going to be rereading this. A priority read that I want to read for my 2026 TBR is 2 books by the same author. First is God of Fury by Rena Kent. This is an romance. This is the 5th book in the Legacy of God series, and I have just been seeing so many raving reviews about the story, how, you know, the characters are amazing, that Nikolai is the best guy in Legacy of Gods, that this relationship is really immaculate, and I just want to know what all the hype is about. This would be my first romance, and I just heard that there's truly nothing like it. Next is Blood of My Monster, also by Rena Kent, and this is a trilogy. This is about Sasha, and his name is Kirill, and Sasha is basically going into the military to be the bodyguard for Kirill. And from what I recall of like the synopsis, is she's basically trying to figure out like how he is involved in a murder, I think. Honestly, I'm not really particularly sure. All I know is that this is a lot of people's favorite series, and that this is underrated, and I know that these are going to be the parents of the person that is going to be the second book in the villain series, and I want to read about them first before I read that. And again, I've just heard such glowing reviews about this that I want to also pick this up pretty soon. An author that I probably won't be reading any more books from this year, and this was hard for me because I don't have a lot, but I probably have to say Kelsey Ray, and that's really sad because I read this series last year and like the year before. It's the Don't Let Me series by her, so Don't Let Me Down, Don't Let Me Break, and or Don't Let Me Fall, Don't Let Me Break, and Don't Let Me Down, and I really enjoyed these. The first one is Hockey, and it's best friend's girlfriend, and the boyfriend of the main female character is a douche. The second book is Paramedic, and then the girl has epilepsy, so she's trying to learn how to cope with that. And then the last book is Age Gap, and I really, really love these books. I thought that they were really entertaining, and I enjoyed this, and I really love the series. So honestly, the last book is about Henry and Mia, and the first book of the next series that is like a spin-off, like second gen of this series, is called A Little Complicated, and that is about Mia and Henry's sons. And I was like, oh, this sounds so interesting. I'm so intrigued by this, and I read it, and honestly, the first 50% I was hooked. I like did not put it down. I think I binged it in an afternoon. After the 50% mark, it literally went downhill, and it was just a dumpster fire. And I hate that because I was so intrigued, and I've really loved the other 3 books that I've read by her, but that in and of itself just turned me off so badly. And then seeing what else is a part of that series, I wouldn't want to read anything with else in that series in particular. So I will just say that that's probably an author I won't be picking up. I'm not ruling her out, but she's not like a priority for me in 2026. something new you want to read, and that's both tropes and genres. For me, tropes, I'm going to say within dark romance because I'm still so fairly new to it. I just got back into reading it in August of last year. I would say stalking because I've had ones that are like really, really good that I wouldn't say I enjoy the stalking, but the way that it's handled is very intriguing and within a dark romance. And then I've had other ones where it's just too unhinged and it really turns me off in the story and it makes me DNF the book. So I want to see if it's the way it's written or if it's just that trope in general. So I want to explore more books like that. If you have any recs, please let me know. That is definitely one that I want to see if, again, if it's the trope or if it's the way it's written. And then genres that I want to explore is more thrillers. I've only read 3 thrillers, and the 3 that I've read I've not really enjoyed. They are just random thrillers that I picked up. I think one's called um, I can't remember. Something by Geneva Rose. If I remember, I'll put it right here. And then The Boyfriend by Frida McFadden. That one was one that was popping off a little bit last year, and I picked it up. I binged it in 2 days, but honestly, I did not like that book. The plot twist was really weird. I mean, it obviously was trying to depict that like one person was the actual murderer. I didn't say what this was about, but it was basically a girl that was in this apartment complex, and one of the people in her apartment ends up getting killed, and she thinks that the new person that she's dating, her boyfriend, is the person that killed them, and she's trying to figure out like if this is true, if this is false. And obviously like that's the direction the book is supposed to take. And then you get like past perspectives of the boyfriend was somebody that he knew in his childhood, and you're trying to figure out like why they're telling you these things and like why the boyfriend is the way he is. And honestly, like I said, just the plot twist in the end was not my favorite, and that being my first Frida McFadden book, and that's not her most popular, this is leading into the segue of I feel like I want to pick up The Housemaid and Never Lie, which I know are her most popular books, and those are the books that I want to try to see if I like thrillers, or if I don't like thrillers and it's the books that I was picking up. So I want to check out those two. Maybe The Silent Patient, just a lot more of those thrillers that are more talked about. A popular book that I want to read is Kill Switch, which is the 3rd book in the Devil's Night series. This is about Damon and Winter, and I have just heard so many good things about this. I've heard that this is literally everybody's favorite book in the Devil's Night series. I really liked Corrupt. Hideaway, it was okay, and I actually tried to start this book. I read about a chapter or so at the end of last year, and I could just already tell there was going to be a lot of trauma, and there's trauma that was introduced within Hideaway, and I just know I have to be in the right headspace for this. But I again have heard so many good things about it, and also with it being as chunky as it is, I know I have to again be in the right headspace and be able to take on like all the things that would be happening to him. But this is one that I've been like highly anticipating. If it's as good as everybody says it is, and if he does truly have a good redemption arc, I could see this totally being my favorite book in the series. Combine these 2 questions, and that is a sequel you're anticipating and your most anticipated release of 2026. And first is the sequel to When the Moon Hatched. I'm just going to show you literally the tabs of this book. This is a chunky book, and I read this in 2024, and I love the female main character, Ray. I just thought she was such a badass, and I truly enjoyed the story. With how thick this was, I was very shocked that I was never once bored. I was never taken out of the story. I never thought that it was too long. I truly just enjoy the world that Sarah A. Parker created, and I really loved, the mythical creatures within this, and just learning a lot of the lore of the world. I thought it was so fascinating, and I truly enjoyed it, and I've just been waiting for A Ballad of Falling and Dragons to come out. It was supposed to come out in October of last year. It got pushed, and I was supposed to be coming out at the end of April this year, and I am just literally foaming to get that book in my hands and just devour it. I just know it's going to be good. With her pushing it off, it just makes me more excited. I feel like that means that she really just took her time with it, and I can appreciate that. So that's my #1 anticipated release. And my second anticipated release is Daybreak, which is a sequel to Nightshade. Nightshade was one of my favorite books last year. Again, I thoroughly enjoyed this. I previously said that I plan on rereading this, and I think I'm gonna maybe read it twice, or if I don't and it's only one time, closer to the release date in July for Daybreak. Again, with just the way this ended and where I feel like potentially the story could go, I could just see this being my favorite book of this year as well. And I just feel like with this being a duet, it's going to be really good and interesting and just like not drawn out plot or anything. And I really love the characters in the story. I also really love the side characters, and I just can't wait to see what Autumn is going to do with the conclusion of the story. A bookish goal that I have in 2026 is to complete as many series as possible. I'm currently in the middle of 14. Yes, you heard that right, 14 series, and I plan on starting so many more this year. And I feel like with a lot of them being like fantasy, there's so much world building going on within those series, and it's just hard to, pick up a book, put it down, pick up a book, put it down. And I want to start trying to read them closer together so that I can retain as much information as possible and really just get the true experience out of the series and like the books as a whole. So that's what I plan on doing, is trying to get through them as much as possible, or catching up, or getting to like the latest book that's out, and then at least being able to complete what's up to date. A book that is on my TBR that I probably won't end up completing or picking up would be Nothing Like the Movies. This is the sequel to Better Than the Movies, which I read again in 2024, and I think I gave that a 4.5. I really enjoyed Liz's and Wes's story, and I was so excited when I saw that Lynn Pater was coming out with a sequel to Better Than the Movies. I know this is them set in college, and from what I remember, this is now like them strangers, or it would be like lovers to strangers, and that it's like a second chance romance, which, if I'm being honest, is not one of my favorite tropes. But when I heard that she was coming out with this, I was so excited to pick this up, and I wish I just would have waited, because I feel like I've lost interest in their story, and I feel like with the way that Better Than the Movies ended, it wrapped up perfectly. I would just count that honestly as like a singular book, its own entity. And also, I have not seen the best reviews on this, and that a lot of people said that this has tainted their view on the characters, and I don't want that. So I don't really ever plan on picking this up. It's just gonna be a pretty pastel book on my bookshelf. A series that I want to read this year is actually three that I'm so excited to start. First is the Legacy series by Melissa K. Rourke. I've read the first two books in the Lady of Darkness series, and I've heard that you can read that to get some context into this world, and that if you're going to start the Legacy series, and if you ever plan on reading Lady of Darkness, that you need to read that first, because this has spoilers in it. I only plan on reading the first three books in Lady of Darkness, so that's okay, but I've just seen so many good things about this dark fantasy romance series, and I already love Melissa's writing. I think it's just very engaging, and it really transports you into the world. And I've literally seen nothing bad on this except for the last book, but everybody else has said that like the first three books are so good, that these are toxic characters, it's character growth at its finest, and that truly you're really not going to like any of the characters like until the end. And I feel like that's such an interesting dynamic, especially with it being a dark fantasy. I really love the idea of this, and this is just like my most anticipated series to read this year, and I'm just looking forward to picking it up. Next is City of Bones, aka the Mortal Instruments series. This has been on my TBR since middle of last year, and I watched this movie as a kid. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was so intriguing. I also looked at a little bit of Shadowhunters, and I liked it. And obviously, like a book is better than the show or a movie, and I've just seen so many people that are picking this up now as an adult that didn't read it as a kid and are enjoying it just as much as people that read it when they were younger. And for whatever reason, I've been reading since I was 12. I don't know why I have not picked up the series. I didn't pick up the series as a kid, but I am so intrigued by it. I will already say that I obviously know, the ending, the plot twist, the craziness of this book, but I still want to experience this and just dive into this world. I want to at least read this first book and potentially try to get to the Infernal Devices, because I've heard that that's her best trilogy, and that's set as a prequel to Mortal of Instruments. So I really want to potentially try to read all of these if at all possible, but for sure at least this first book. And then the last series that I plan on trying to pick up is the Darkverse series by Runix. This is a Dark Mafia romance series, and I just, again, been seeing so many good reviews on this series. I actually tried to pick up The Predator about two and a half years ago, got about 50% in, and had already known that the main character, Marana, had a lot of inner monologue, and that being in her head was going to be kind of taxing, and that's the way that I ended up feeling. So I ended up soft DNFing this, and I've just been thinking thinking about it so much recently, especially since I've gotten back into dark romance, and I've just heard such good things, especially about these first two books, The Predator and The Reaper, and about Tristan, Kane, and Marana. And I really just want to see what all the hype is about. I remember really loving the beginning of the story. I know it started out on a bang, literally, and it was just so intriguing. I know that these are like rival mafia families, and that Marana basically has hacked or stolen something from Tristan, and is trying to find a way to get it back. And it was just really interesting. So I really, really want to dive back into the series. My auto by authors going into 2026 are four authors that I discovered last year. Yeah, last year. That's crazy. First is Chelsea Corto, which is the author of the GC Star series. Face Off is actually my favorite within this series, and I just really love that this is hockey romance with teammates, where each teammate, or almost every teammate, is getting a book in the series, and every book has just been so amazing. I really love the way that she writes her female main characters, and just a lot of the adversities that they're facing in male-dominated industries, and the way that they're handling it with such grace and bravery. I love it. And she always does these author notes in the beginning that is really like explaining the reason that she's writing the story, and the reason that she is giving these females these trials and tribulations, but showcasing that they're really strong, and that they can go through anything and come out on the other side even stronger. So I for sure want to pick up literally anything she's dropping. I know she's doing In Stormy Weather, which is a like weather related book, and then she's doing Cross Check, which is the sixth book in this series, and I wouldn't be surprised if she has more. Then Liz Tom 40, I completed the Windy City series last year, and it was so amazing. My favorite book in the series was Rewind It Back, but then my next favorite is Play Along. Isaiah Rose is literally just the perfect man. I absolutely love him in Kennedy, and I just thought this book was immaculate. And I know she has her newest book coming out in March called In Her Own League, which is about Reese and Monty. And Monty is the dad to one of the characters in the Windy City series, and just the little snippets that we got of him in her book were just really, really intriguing. And the snippets that we got of Reese were also intriguing within that book, and I'm just so excited to see what she's going to do with this. I feel like it's going to be so, so, so good. I'm so excited for that. Then Rena Kent, if you have seen a theme in this video, I've talked about her a lot. I've read the first four books in the Legacy of God series, and I plan to read so much more by her. I just really, really enjoy her writing, and she is actually the person that got me back into dark romance, actually with this book, God of Malice. And I know that's crazy to say, because if you have read this, or if you even have an inkling of what the story is about, the first two chapters in this book are a lot, and that is a lot to start out with. But this is what got me into dark romance and really just reinvigorated my love for it. I used to read it heavily like 5 years ago, and then I stopped, and this just brought it back for me. And so literally anything this lady puts out, I'm picking it up and I'm devouring it, and I am just full steam ahead reading whatever she has to offer. And the last one is Autumn Woods again. I know this is the only book, if not another book. I think she has another book out, but I don't hear it talked about a lot. But with her having Daybreak come out later this year, and I wouldn't be shocked if she has other things come out after that, just the way that she wrote this book, and the characters, and the way that she really just described them, and gave them a lot of character growth, and gave them flaws, and just really dove deep into them. I really appreciate it, and the banter was immaculate. The setting was amazing. I really felt like I was there, like in a gothic castle. I love that, and considering that this is one of her first books, if not her first book, is just amazing to see. A bookish thing that I'm leaving behind in 2025 is feeling the need to continue a book when I'm not enjoying it, or getting to like the 40% mark and DNFing it, because I feel like I invested a good amount of my time into the book and then I've DNF'd it. That is really the case in point with dark romance. I started reading so much of it heavily towards the end of the year because I rediscovered it, and that happened with so many books. I feel like, I don't know if I was having burnout or because I was reading them back to back, that I would get 40% and 60% and then DNF it because I lost interest, or the book took a really, really weird turn and I didn't understand why. I want to be able to start like really trusting my opinion and my feelings on it, and just DNFing it earlier. And I would also say within series, if I'm not feeling a book, even if I've read multiple books in this series, or even if I've just started the series and I have a gauge or a pulse on it, understanding that I'm not going to like it, just just stop reading it. I feel like that is not worth my time, and I feel like I could just be reading so many other books in that time span instead of spending this extra time reading something that I'm not enjoying. What you can expect from this account. This is my first video, but I love reading, if you can't tell. I've been reading since I was 12, so it's been over a decade, maybe a decade and a half. It's been a long time, and it is one of my favorite things to do, if not my favorite thing to do. That's literally all I do. So what I plan on trying to do is like book recommendation videos, like reading wrap ups, so like monthly reading wrap up, TBR videos, reading vlogs. Those are some of my favorite videos to watch of other booktubers, and I really enjoy those. And I just want to get better at like editing videos and, you know, including content that I'm interested in, and, you know, kind of also just experimenting since I am so new to this. How my reading taste has evolved since last year is I used to, not 2025 but in 2024, exclusively only read contemporary romance, and then in 2025 I delved into, well, end of 2024 into 2025, started delving into romantic fantasy and like mysteries and a little bit of thrillers, and then in August, sorry, I just had a brain fart. In August, I started going into dark romance, and I would say that that's really in the ways that I have changed as a reader, is going into that. I really never thought that I would pick that up again. I never had an interest, and then randomly I started seeing a lot of things on Legacy of Gods, and it got me really intrigued, and it just made me want to pick it up more. And really towards the end of August all the way through the end of the year and into the start of this year, all I've been thinking about is dark romance and picking up dark romance and, you know, really trying to learn what I really love about it. So I'd say that's how my reading taste has evolved. Some booktube creators that inspire me and that I've honestly been watching for years are Sarah Crowley, Larry Reeds, Destiny, and I'm going to put all of them up here, tag them in the bottom. Those are a lot of people that I have been looking at, and I just love their content and how their personality really comes through in their videos, and just the way that they edit them. They're so uniquely them, and just feeling like you know them even though you're obviously watching them on the camera like you're watching me. I feel like you can really understand who they are like as a person, who they are as a reader, who they are like just in the community. I feel like they're so sweet and down to earth and understanding, and just give really good recommendations, and really like branch out in genres and just really make you feel like you're a part of their community, which you are. I feel like they're, you know, the staple of booktube and like book talk, and I really enjoy them, and I just love watching their content. And the last question is something you want to say to somebody that's starting a book account. That's weird because I'm starting a book account, but I would just say, just be yourself. I know it's hard to like get in front of a camera and start filming, and I'm gonna be honest, that was something that I really struggled with for the better part of a year, was showing my face. I was scared to talk in front of, I was scared to talk about books even though I love it, because I feel like it's hard to express or discuss a book and have somebody care about it, you know. And I've worked on being more confident in myself and just speaking to the camera and speaking to it as if I'm telling, you know, a family member or a friend about something, and just treating it like that. And I feel like using that as like a tool has really helped me feel more comfortable speaking in front of a camera. And I would say, if you're even see, I'm stumbling over my words. If you're even remotely interested in books, or, you know, talking about books, or you want to get involved in the community and just discuss it with other people, I highly encourage doing it. The first time you do it, it's scary, but the more you do it and the more consistent you are, the better it starts to feel and the more comfortable you start to become. Thank you so much for watching my video. If you got to the end of it, I'd love to know what some of your answers are to some of these questions. If you are participating in the beginning of the year tag, and who some of your favorite creators are on BookTube or BookTok.